or Heavenly, some of those real big, real nice resorts, real well ran. But there's also some small ones that are in some cool towns. And staying on the Route 66 theme, just north of, got a couple, I got a message here. I'll get to those in a second. I have a couple friends that sent me some questions about what kind of skis I like, what's my favorite place to ski, what kind of boots do I use, a couple questions like that. But anyway, just north of Kingman, off of Route 66, is Las Vegas. Now, why that matters is there's two ski resorts that are real close to Las Vegas. One is called Brian Head, which is in Utah. Now, it's 2 or 3 hours, well, it's about 3 hours actually, but it's 3 hours away from Las Vegas. But it's something that you can stay the night in Las Vegas in a really nice room, inexpensive, but it's still Vegas. Drive there in the morning, ski that day, and then maybe stay in Brian Head that night. That's just an idea. But the other one is you can just stay in Las Vegas, and there's a ski resort that used to be called Las Vegas Ski Resort. It's now called Lee Canyon. Well, back in 1963, when they actually named it, they named it Lee Canyon. And then, like in the mid-2000s, maybe somewhere around there, I'd have to look that up. But regardless, they changed it to the Las Vegas Ski and Snowboard Resort, I believe. And then they changed it back to Lee's Canyon because that's what everybody was calling it anyway. Sometimes you're there with some friends that book you for too many days because that town, there's a lot to do, but everything costs a lot of money. So while you're running around spending your dough, sometimes you just like to take a break, go play some golf, maybe go to the pool, that kind of thing. But if it's winter, talking about skiing in Las Vegas. So back in the day, me and my daughter, we popped up to Las Vegas, and there was a Broadway show of The Lion King playing at Mandalay Bay. So we went to go see that. And the next morning, we drove up to Lee Canyon to go ski. And it was the coolest thing ever because you drive out of Las Vegas, which kind of sits in a bowl, and as you look back, you can see the town. Now, that matters when you finish skiing and you're driving back into Las Vegas, and the sun's going down, or it may have already gone down. In our case, it already went down. And you can see the city skylights of Las Vegas twinkling in the desert as you're leaving the snow. So Las Vegas, there's no skiing in town. But just 35, 45 minutes, maybe an hour with traffic or complications. You know, you have to get parking and some other restrictions taken care of before you get to the mountain. But anyway, let's say an hour from Las Vegas, if you're staying on the Strip, you can hook up a rental with some skis, some poles, some boots, a snowboard, helmet, gloves, jacket, the whole kit and caboodle, and go skiing. So I wanted to talk to you about Lee Canyon because what a ski resort has for you, it doesn't mix real well for a skier. I mean, there's a couple runs that say they're black diamonds and that kind of thing, but they're about as short as ponytails. So I wouldn't say go up there and ski the black diamonds. What I would tell you to do is if you've never snowboarded, this would be the hill to do it on for sure. You can ski on it too, I'm sure, but the runs are really narrow and they're kind of short. So snowboarding's perfect for this kind of hill. It's built just for this. And they even have like a little rabbit peak that you can, it's like their bunny hill, I guess is why they call it the rabbit peak. But anyway, that's what normally most people call their mountain that's made for beginners, is the bunny hill. Hey, before we go any further, I just wanted to know if you could do me a favor and just like this video, like this podcast, subscribe to my channel, and then if you could ring the bell, comment below, and that would really help this podcast. It would really help what we're doing here, talking about skiing, bringing you the kind of cool stuff about skiing. You know, every night I turn on the television and I watch scenarios of people falling in quicksand, and Rescue 911 shows up and gets them out. You know, you need to get out. You need to go get some skis. You need to go get on the hill and ski your ass off all day. And when you come home, you fix yourself a nice dinner. You settle down with a cup of tea or a cocktail or whatever your evening preference is, and you go to bed and you get up the next morning, and then you go hard the next day, and maybe it's work or maybe it's back on the hill again. But God, quit living in that TV and other people's lives and whatnot. Go out and do things. So that's what I'm trying to help you do, is how to go out and do it. So if you're out in Vegas and you want something to do besides the Strip, go to Lee's Canyon. So you say, well, tell me about Lee's Canyon, Frank Diddy from the big city. Okay, well, here's the deal. Lift tickets are $77 on weekends. They might be cheaper during the week, but what I try to do is give you worst case scenario so that you can always pull up and have it be less expensive. But if you're skiing on a Friday, it says it's $77. The other thing, and I think this is really important because this is the kind of thing that you need to know before you go up. The first thing it tells you to do is get your parking reservation taken care of. It's all, look, fool, before you come up here, we need to know you're coming. So you got to put a reservation in. It says, then discover how to ski or snowboard up here, and then buy your lift ticket. But first, get your parking reservation, because they've got some COVID restrictions, and they want to limit the number of people that are just accessing that area, which is totally understandable. Again, get your boogie on. Back to this issue at hand. I want to talk about how to rock down the Strip. Rocking it on the Strip is the best. If you can possibly imagine, if you've never been to Las Vegas, if you can possibly imagine the coolest thing in the world, that's what Las Vegas is. Looking at Las Vegas, this town has a couple of cool hotels to stay at. And when I say a couple, say like 30 or 40. And maybe we can broadcast a podcast from one of these here real soon. But let me tell you where I recommend staying. When you're in town, if you're new and you've never been to Las Vegas, stay at the Luxor. Now, there's a couple reasons. One, it's nice. You can get a great room, cheap. I mean, it's just sick what that is. But the second thing is that I've had my best steak at their steakhouse. Now, out of the whole Strip, I'm sure there's other steakhouses that are just as good. And those will be other steakhouses and other times to visit. But the couple of times that I've eaten, I've had a great steak there, and at Bally's, in fact, they had another one at their steakhouse. But anyway, back to the Luxor. Now, there's another third reason, and I think this is the most important reason, and it's the most nostalgic reason. You see, we have certain things that are in our world that aren't going to be around forever. Now, maybe you can head over to Cairo and go visit the one that's there in Giza that are just admired by the world, or a couple of other pyramids that are there around the world. But this pyramid, I don't think is going to be here for very much longer. So go stay at the Luxor. Go experience it. You can either stay in the tower, or if that freaks you out and you can't figure out how the elevators work and like what's this thing all about, because they travel up the side. And if you've ever stayed in some places in Europe that have been built on the hills or in some of the Swiss chalets or whatever, you'll know what I'm talking about with these elevators. They're at an angle. I don't know. It's a trip. But see, that's it. That's why you want to stay at the Lexor, because it's so cool and it's so unique. And it has video and pic moments for days. Like, you don't even know how cool this hotel is. It's just this great, beautiful pyramid with these white, like, disco lights on the sides of it that run up the four corners. And it has this white tip at the top that has this light that shines up. I'm sure that keeps an eye on the space station. This bright light that shines up, and like, you know where you're at no matter what in Vegas if you can just locate the light at the Luxor. So if you're staying there, you're like, this is just happening. And if you're there in the summer, they've got the coolest pool set up. You want the kid pool thing? More adult than go to right next door to the MGM, just catty corner to the Excalibur. But back to the issue at hand, it's Lee's Canyon in Las Vegas, staying on the Strip at the Lexor. So as far as I'm concerned, that's how I would do Lee's Canyon, ski Lee's Canyon. I think the question is, how was it when I was there? A lot of times, if you don't make a lot of turns and you ski fast, you need long runs, and Lee's Canyon wouldn't be good for that. It's excellent for terrain park. It's excellent for snowboarders. It's excellent for intermediate to beginner level snowboarders or skiers. I think that's just excellent. And by the way, coming up in a couple of podcasts that we have, I just thought I'd mention some things that we're going to be doing on some shows. Renting skis for the first time. How does that work, Frank Diddy? Ski helmets. Do I need one or not? And then we're going to talk about skier safety. Here's something that I think is pretty important. And I'm just looking for 5 songs, but putting together a skier song list that you like to put on when you get off the run, off the lift for your first run or for your fast run or whatever. I'm going to talk about that. Buying ski gloves. This is really important because I've bought $17 ski gloves at Costco, and I've seen $750 ski gloves that were ostrich skin for sale. I think that were spider, and they were beautiful leather. Oh my God, these things were beautiful. But anyway, I think that mine at $17 would work just as well as the $750 ones, and then the ones in between. And then, like, there's some cool ones you can get, like old school Ed Harding, which are all tripped out. My daughter skis with these ones that have they're the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon is the image that's on the mittens. They're all tripped out. Anyway, she skis retro for sure. Like, all of her stuff is vintage. She skis in. It's crazy. The sport is so fun. It's so cool. Like, you totally got to get involved. Okay, so then here's the question. So now you're listening and you say, hey, I've never skied. I don't know if I'm going to get to Vegas. I don't know if I'm going to get to Lee's Canyon. I live in wherever the closest ski resort is to you. They'll have a beginner's program. All you have to do is just go on their website, or if they're just so small here in the West, everything is like righteous. Like Arizona, we have this killer skiing. If you go to New Mexico, they have better skiing than we do. Not always, but usually. I hate to say that. Oh my God, do I hate to say that. But now that Snowbowl's been making snow, man. Oh my God, that place is so cool. Like, I can't even tell you. It hadn't snowed for like a week or two, and when I went up there to go shred, it was still so good. The runs were so good. There was no rocks. There wasn't anything. And like I said, through the 80s and the 90s, you'd go skiing. I would rent some days because I knew that I would just be shredding the bottom of my boards. So I'd take Snowbowls out instead of mine and go ruin theirs, because right up to Las Vegas and just 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes outside of Las Vegas is this great little ski resort called Leeds Canyon. Check it out. If you can, we'd like you to hit the like button, like this podcast, like this video. I'd appreciate it. We'd also like you to subscribe to this podcast. We have new podcasts coming out all the time. A show that's going to be coming up that I want to get some input on is ski boots. What kind of ski boots are cool? What kind do you like? What's good out there right now? What's anybody skiing on? I have personally 2 pairs of ski boots, and I spend 95% of my skiing in 1 pair of boots. 5% of the time in another pair, and the 5% I spend in these Salomon racing boots. And they're really nice boots, and they are totally built for racing, but they can be a little too much sometimes for me because they're just built so stiff and so everything's just so like ready to run. Oh my god, they're the best. And then I have these other ones. They're actually women's boots, and I have a narrower foot, so my foot fits much better into a boot that takes a narrower foot. Anyway, this boot is a head boot, and it is just so nice, and it has just a little bit of cushion or play, or it has a little spring, or I don't know what you call it on it. Has these little shock absorbers on the front. And this boot is so comfortable, and it's just something I just love so much. But anyway, I want to know about your boots. I want to know what's good, because I think I'm going to have to get a new pair of ski boots here in the next year or two, along with some skis. And then we'll talk about skis, because there's a couple of kinds of skis I want to talk about. The twin tips, all mountain racing skis. Couple of people that I've skied with. I remember going to Sunrise Ski Resort with a girlfriend of mine that I also went to college with at NAU. Her name was Mary Young, and another friend of mine named Mandy Myers. And we went up to Sunrise on a ski trip, all 3 of us, during 8th grade. And we skied Sunrise, and it was so cool. And then I ran into them on the hill up at NAU, but those were 2 good friends of mine that I used to go up on the hill and shred with, and miss those guys. We had some good times just learning how to ski, having fun, being young. All right, we'll tune in for the next one. And we're out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. And I got the life. That's what God said to me. You, bow, bow. And I got the life. Man, I can't wait to put that music list together. That is gonna rock.